Samsung actually managed to surprise everyone at Unpacked by revealing that the entire Z Fold 8 lineup uses silicon carbon batteries. And honestly, that's impressive because these days literally everything leaks before launch, yet somehow this stayed under wraps. Now that immediately got people wondering, will the Galaxy S27 Ultra get silicon carbon batteries too? And the answer is almost definitely yes. For a while now, we've been hearing that Samsung is finally increasing the battery capacity on the S27 Ultra after sticking with the same 5000 mAh battery for 6 years. And now we know how they're gonna do it. The biggest advantage of silicon carbon batteries is that they can pack more battery into the same amount of space. So the S27 Ultra doesn't have to get any thicker to fit a bigger battery. In fact, with Samsung's recent obsession with making phones thinner, I wouldn't be surprised if the S27 Ultra ends up even thinner while still getting a larger battery. Now, I did see a few articles claiming that silicon carbon batteries wear out faster. They're pointing to the new EU battery labels, where phones like the Z Fold 8 are rated for 1200 charge cycles instead of 2000 cycles we used to see. Basically, they're saying the battery drops to around 80% capacity, which is 4000 mAh after 1200 full charge cycles. But here's the problem with that. If silicon carbon batteries are supposedly the reason, then why did the S26 Ultra also drop from 2000 cycles to 1200 when it doesn't even use a silicon carbon battery? So I looked into it, and the more likely explanation is that the EU introduced a new standardized battery testing system that became mandatory in July 2025. In other words, these newer numbers aren't directly comparable to the old one. And the fact that the S26 Ultra got the exact same 1200 cycle rating using a regular battery is a pretty strong indication that this is mostly a testing method change, not a sudden drop in battery quality. So I wouldn't worry too much about that 1200 cycle figure. At least right now, there is no real evidence that Samsung's silicon carbon batteries degrade any faster in everyday use. Alright, moving on, the camera specs of the entire S27 lineup have now leaked. If you haven't been following the earlier leaks, Samsung is also working on a new S27 Pro this year. It will have almost everything the Ultra has except the S Pen, and it will be a little smaller. According to Galaxy Club and WinFuture, who both have a really solid track record, here's what we're looking at. Starting with the S27 Ultra, the biggest change isn't the megapixel count, is that Samsung is using more Sony camera sensors this year. The ultra-wide camera is getting a new Sony sensor similar to what we already saw on the Z Fold 8 Ultra. The resolution and sensor size stays the same, but the sensor itself is changing. The main camera is also getting a new in-house sensor while staying at 200 megapixels. The 50 megapixel 5x periscope camera sticks around, but Samsung is reportedly getting rid of the dedicated 3x telephoto camera altogether. On the front, we're expected to get a new 16 megapixel selfie camera. It's reportedly using a new square sensor similar to Apple's latest iPhones, which lets the phone automatically switch between the portrait and landscape selfies without you having to rotate it. The S27 Pro is expected to get almost the exact same camera setup. The only thing we don't know yet are the main camera sensor and how much zoom Samsung is giving the 50 megapixel telephoto camera. As for the regular S27 and S27 Plus, they're also switching to a 50 megapixel Sony sensor for the main camera. That would actually be the first time in years that Samsung used a Sony sensor as the main camera on its regular Galaxy S flagships. The ultra-wide stays at 12 megapixels, while the telephoto camera is also getting an upgrade, although the exact details still haven't leaked. Because of these camera changes, both the S27 Pro and the Ultra are also expected to get a new horizontal camera setup. Just keep in mind that what you're seeing here is only a concept based on current leaks, not the final design. Moving on, with the S27 lineup, Samsung is giving the privacy display to all 4 S27 models instead of being exclusive to the Ultra. But in the meantime, Samsung is also making it a lot more smarter with the One UI 9. Before, if you enable privacy display for YouTube and then minimize the video into picture-in-picture mode, your entire screen stayed dim because privacy display remained active everywhere. With One UI 9, only the floating picture-in-picture window stays protected while the rest of the screen goes back to normal, so you can keep your video private without making the whole interface harder to use. It's a small improvement, but honestly it makes the feature way more practical.